Country musicians all like to act like bad boys. But I mean, how many of them have actually tried to kill someone over a pot of turtle soup? Johnny Paycheck, best known for his hit song Take This Job and Shove It, written by David Allen Coe but made famous by Johnny.
Take this job and shove it. I ain't working.
But Johnny was no one-hit wonder, and over the years he released a whopping 35 albums, chock full of some of the dirtiest, rawest, and most authentic country music being released. But more than that, Johnny is famous for being one of the dirtiest, rawest, and most authentic dudes there ever was. But while you might think you know all the stories about this outlaw king, you don't know the half of it. The truth about Johnny Paycheck is coming out, and it might change how you see him. So, where did he get his name? Who did he shoot in the head? Why did he go to prison? Why did he quit music? Did he really die broke? And what the heck was his problem with turtle soup? Before we find all this out, please hit that thumbs up icon to show our channel some support. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any country content like this. But now, strap in and turn the volume up as we go find out.
What happened?
Where did Johnny Paycheck get his name? Okay, so just where did Johnny get his name, and how did he turn into the outlaw legend he is today? Johnny was born Donald Eugene Little, which doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but it wasn't until he got himself a sharp nickname. That would be Hubcap Donnie. Why, you ask? Well, he was a very ambitious young man. No, seriously, he was the most renowned car thief in his village of Greenville, Ohio. One time he stole a car from the lot, didn't like it, and then went back for a different one. Well, he didn't like that one either, so he took a third one, took all the keys and threw them all in the creek. But Donnie wasn't just a criminal. He was a very gifted singer and a guitarist. He was singing professionally by 15 years old, so naturally he had to move down to Nashville to try out for the big leagues. But he quickly realized nobody would buy records from Donnie Little. And no, Hubcap Johnny wasn't an option either. So first he tried to change his name to Donnie Young, but audiences found it too generic. You see, the hot thing in Nashville at that time was the name Johnny. Everybody wanted a Johnny. They were like Beanie Babies or iPhones. I mean, you got Johnny Cash, of course, but also Johnny Western, Johnny Dollar. Well, Donnie's manager read something about a Polish boxer named Johnny Paycheck, but without the C. Donnie loved the name, and from that moment on, he was Johnny Paycheck. He left poor old Donnie behind in Ohio, now prepared to live his new rock star life. But while he left his name behind, some of his bad habits would continue to follow him. Why did Johnny Paycheck go to jail? Unlike many quote-unquote outlaw musicians, Johnny actually walked that walk. From an early age, the only thing he was better at than music was getting into trouble. You know, like stealing 3 cars just for the fun of it. So when exactly did things go too far? Well, it didn't take long for Johnny to land some serious gigs in Nashville. He was playing with heavy hitters like Patsy Cline, Porter Wagner, and George Jones. But Johnny wasn't exactly starstruck. He was uber confident in his own talent and comfortable around the stars he was supporting. In fact, maybe a bit too comfortable. One time, Johnny was playing with the Patsy Cline at a big country music park. Well, he got to drinking and thought it would be a good idea to steal Patsy's car. But the park was fenced in, so all they had to do was close the gates, and all Johnny could do was drive around the lot in circles until he ran out of gas. And, well, the more successful Johnny got, the more he expected. One time he was on his tour bus and really wanted a Big Mac. Well, the bus driver couldn't find any McDonald's on the road. I know, odd, right? And he suggested getting a burger somewhere else. Hey, no big deal, right? Well, no, wrong. Johnny's manager allegedly shot him in the ear and punched him. And yeah, Johnny definitely got his Big Mac that night. As the years went on, he continued getting into trouble. He passed so many bad checks they started calling him Johnny Bad Check. But bad checks were nothing compared to what Johnny would do next.
Johnny Paycheck, I want some cocaine and don't care what it costs.
Who did Johnny Paycheck shoot? Some people have suggested that Johnny Paycheck had a Napoleon complex. Some country music fans suggest that Johnny had a Napoleon complex. Now, he wasn't exactly a big guy. The cowboy hat did a lot of that work. And so, he was constantly trying to prove what a tough guy he was. And that's when he became good friends with the Hells Angels motorcycle gang. But really, how bad was Johnny Paycheck? And who did he allegedly try to kill? Like any good story, what happened that night depends on who you ask. What we do know is this: Johnny was at his favorite place, the bar, when two fans came up to say hi to him. Things went smoothly at first. The fans liked Johnny's hat and they decided to trade. But for some reason, things went south when one of the men offered to cook Johnny turtle soup. Now, I'd be flattered if somebody offered to do that for me, although I don't know if I'd take him up on the offer. But Johnny felt, well, differently. He would later say that the way the men were holding their beer bottles suggested that they were about to attack him. So naturally, Johnny pulled out his gun and shot the man in the forehead. Miraculously, the bullet just grazed his scalp, knocking the hat, Johnny's hat, remember? The poor guy ran out screaming, and Johnny chased him outside yelling, "Come back, I won't shoot you no more." Well, that man was not convinced and he did not turn back. So Johnny Paycheck decided it was now time to get the heck out of Dodge. He grabbed his hat, you know, the hat he shot off that man's head, and got in his car. He drove some and then threw the gun out the window. But ironically, the smoking gun wasn't the gun, it was the hat. Later, when police found the car and found the hat inside, there was a clear, visible bullet hole through it. Now, this wasn't just a get-rich-quick scheme or a joyride. It could have been attempted murder.
You wouldn't be Mr. Wise, would you? Yes. What happened last night?
Johnny was finally in a hole he couldn't get out of. Why did Johnny Paycheck go to prison? Okay, so Johnny was kinda broke at this time. He called up his country buddies, Jerry Lee Lewis and Merle Haggard, to cough up some dough. In another universe, Johnny may have avoided years in the clink. He might have acknowledged his alcoholism, expressed sincere regret over his actions, promised to turn his life around. Maybe he could have bought that guy a new hat too. But that's not exactly what happened. Johnny wasn't exactly the kind of guy to play nice, even when his own future hung in the balance. On the witness stand, he grabbed a large gun, which we can only assume was a piece of evidence, and did a spinning trick with it. And the fact that Johnny had an album and a song called Armed and Crazy, well, I don't think it exactly helped his case. As they were leading Johnny away, he said, quote, "I'll be out in 2 weeks." This wasn't his most accurate prediction. He was sentenced to 7 years in the clink. Johnny fought the sentence for years, always maintaining that the shooting was in self-defense, but he eventually had to start serving his sentence. Luckily, there were some upsides to prison. It actually forced Johnny to finally stop drinking and abusing drugs. And it also wasn't all that bad. Merle Haggard personally came inside the fence to play a show for the inmates.
Tried to stop me short of stealing. I guess that's why I had to steal that car.
And then, after 2 years, a miracle happened. The governor of Ohio decided to pardon Johnny. Maybe he was a country music fan, but what would happen to Johnny when he got out? Would he go back to his old ways and do something even worse? Why did Johnny Paycheck quit music, and did he really die broke?
Tonight I feel like an old violin.
Johnny's big problem was that he was allergic to success. He would slowly get his life together, stop drinking so much, and get his career back on track. But as soon as that hard work began to pay off, he would begin to hit the bottle and go on a bender. Johnny was never quite as rich or famous as his peers. But that doesn't mean he was earning pennies. He brought in quite a bit of cash in his day. The problem was he would always blow it on drinks, drugs, and even worse. His former bandmates have alleged that he spent $16 million on drugs. And do you think Johnny Paycheck was the kind of guy to keep up with his taxes? Can you imagine him downloading TurboTax? No, absolutely not. So, naturally, in 1982, he was sued by the IRS for back taxes. All through his career, the cycle continued. But this time, when Johnny did get out of prison, he turned his life around. In 1997, he was inducted into the Grand Ole Opry, but not long after, he decided to quit music for good. This time, knowing that he had a real life waiting for him when he got off stage. When Johnny died in 2003, he was allegedly dead broke, never able to recover from his decades of debts. But what he was surrounded by was so much more important. His loved ones and the people that he'd made music with over the years. Okay, I won't sugarcoat it. Johnny had one of the messiest lives in music history. But I can say this about him. I don't think anybody was more purely themselves than Johnny. And you can take that straight to the bank. Alright, that's enough of me. Now we need to hear from you. What do you think? Was Johnny really the baddest outlaw of them all? Do you think he deserved to be pardoned? Finally, what is your favorite Johnny Paycheck song? What's his best album? Get in the comments and tell us all things Johnny Paycheck. Hey, while you're there, tell us who we should cover next. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up icon. Subscribe to the channel and come back often so we can keep telling you
What happened?